All right, guys, so we got to talk about this explosive interview featuring Jim Acosta and Andrew Yang. Now, Jim Acosta has interviewed Andrew Yang before about this very topic, which is Andrew Yang starting a new political party, a third party to compete with Democrats and Republicans. And last time that Jim Acosta interviewed Andrew Yang about this, he basically got pissed off at Andrew Yang, like extremely mad at Andrew Yang, because he thinks that Andrew Yang's third party is going to take away votes from the Democrats, aka allow Trump to win. Okay, and that is what this guy's main concern is, because in this interview, Jim Acosta here is going to ask questions that I don't think are out of bounds. Like, they're legitimate questions that a journalist should ask somebody who's starting a third party. However, my problem with Jim Acosta here is that he's asking these questions not because he is genuinely curious about the policy positions of Andrew Yang's forward party. He's only asking these questions to try to embarrass Andrew Yang, to make the forward party not seem like a serious political party, because he's mad at Andrew Yang for starting the party in the first place, because they're going to take away votes from the Democrats. Or at least that is what he believes, right? And he has Trump derangement syndrome to the point where he can't stand the idea of the Democrat Party potentially losing votes and Trump winning again, right? So that is his whole beef with Andrew Yang, okay? Now, I've talked about third parties before in the past. I don't necessarily know exactly what Andrew Yang's third party, the forward party, is exactly about. What I do know is the basics, that he started the party in order to try to fix polarization in our politics, right? To have a more centrist party that people can go to, as opposed to the extremes that he argues the Republican and Democrat Party, the directions that they're going in. I mean, I know for sure the Democrat Party is definitely extreme, okay? The Republican Party, on the other hand, I'm not necessarily sure if they are as extreme as where the Democrat Party has gone, right? But he says he's trying to solve that problem, okay? And in the past, I've said, look, I definitely think that we should have multiple parties, because if you think about it, the system is rigged, right? When people say the system is rigged, well, yeah, they're right. The system is rigged. It's rigged in favor of Democrats and Republicans, right? Like, the system is literally actually rigged in favor of just two parties, to the point where, again, third parties are extremely hard to start, let alone be successful, because the system is rigged against them. And that, in my opinion, is anti-democratic, right? So with that being said, do I think that Andrew Yang's political party will work? No. And the reason why I don't think it's going to work is because in order to be successful, I think you can break the monopoly that Democrats and the Republicans have, but you need four parties, right? You need four parties that represent exactly how America is divided. Progressives, establishment Democrats, establishment Republicans, and Trump Republicans, okay? So with that being said, I think that a four-party system could make it happen. And that almost happened when Trump was considering starting a third party, when they were basically thinking about trying to convict him during a Senate impeachment trial, which would have made him ineligible to run for president. There was rumors that he was going to start a third party. And when the progressives were upset with the Democrat Party, where there was rumors that AOC could start, another party, I think that would have been the time to do it, right? That would have been the time to do it, and I think it would be extremely competitive. But with that being said, I want to go ahead and get into this interview with Jim Acosta and Andrew Yang, so you guys can see how pissed off this guy is, simply because Andrew Yang is choosing not to till the Democrat Party anymore.
The American people want real choice. We want to provide it
people obviously
to them
worry.
in their towns and communities and where
those
they live.
lower level races are obviously important, but people worry about another 2016 scenario where a third party candidate like Jill Stein or Gary Johnson costs Hillary Clinton the election. Don't you?
Oh, Hillary lost because of Jill Stein in third parties. Hillary didn't lose because, I don't know, people don't like Hillary, right? She didn't lose because of her own. She lost because of third parties.
You think that putting yourself out there, putting this party out there as an alternative that appeals to some moderate Republicans could potentially throw the race to Donald Trump, put Donald Trump back in the White House? Is that what you want?
I'm the co-chair of an anti-extremist party. I ran against Trump. So I don't plan on doing anything that's going to increase Trump's odds. But again, 62%
Why not run as a
of
Democrat
Americans
again?
want a third party.
Ding, ding, ding.
And we are looking right now at a competitive U.S. Senate race as one example, where you have an independent Evan McMullin running neck and neck with a Trump-endorsed incumbent in an environment
But the Democratic
that, frankly,
Party in
Democratic
Utah,
Party could not
the Democratic
compete
Party
in.
out in Utah got behind Evan McMullin. Andrew, why not run again as a Democrat? If you want to be president, run again as a Democrat.
Bam. Ding, 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 ding. That's the only thing this person's concerned about. Be a Democrat. Why don't you just be a Democrat? These are the people that claim they care about democracy so much, but they only want a democracy that consists of two parties. Well, really, Jim Acosta, he only wants a democracy that consists of one party, which is the Democrat Party. But that's all he's concerned about. That's all he's concerned about. And if you actually really listen to what Jim Acosta is saying here, he's saying it without really saying it. But what he's actually telling Andrew Yang is that, what are you doing? You don't have a chance of winning at all. Okay? And if you want to be president, then you have to run as a Democrat because, like I told you guys at the beginning of this video, that the system is rigged, right? It's rigged in favor of Republicans and Democrats, right? That's actually what Jim Acosta is telling Andrew Yang without actually really telling him, is that you don't have a chance. You're wasting your time. It's not going to work. Just be a Democrat. But see, what Acosta here is leaving out, and what he probably knows, is that even if Andrew Yang ran as a Democrat, he still wouldn't have a chance to win because the Democrat establishment would never let him win, right? The same way they didn't let Bernie win, okay, when he went against Hillary and Biden, right? They're not going to let any candidate that's outside of the establishment actually win, right? So Yang doesn't have a chance either way. And it's not even like Yang said anything about running for president during his interview. Acosta just put it out there saying, well, if you want to be president, you got to be a Democrat, which is true. You do, right? Because again, this system is rigged against anybody that's not a Democrat or a Republican.
So Jim, I haven't made any conclusions about 2024 except for the fact that the United States needs a unifying, positive third-party movement because we're getting increasingly polarized. And if it's not Trump, it's going to be a successor to Trump because this system is uniquely vulnerable to authoritarianism. You have a two-party system.
But I can hear the folks over at the White House. President Biden has had Republican.
Need a better system.
But President Biden, I can hear Democrats over at the White House saying President Biden has had Republican support on a number of agenda items. He is trying to work in a bipartisan fashion. Why not try to support that as a Democrat? You were just a Democrat 10 minutes ago.
Why can't you just be a Democrat? Just be a Democrat, Andrew Yang. You're going to be responsible for Trump becoming president again. My worst nightmare. Just be a Democrat, please. This is propaganda, guys. This is when you have a whole media network that is dedicated to the Democrat Party, where people who leave the Democrat Party, they get scolded like this. Okay, not because of their policy positions, but simply because they left the Democrat Party, right? You can't criticize the Democrat Party. You can't be so upset with the Democrat Party that you leave, or they try to, whip you back in shape, right? This is what happens anytime a so-called minority, right, leaves the Democrat Party. They get real angry, right? They get real angry with them.
I support attempts to cross the aisle, but we can all see that 7 out of 10 of the Republicans that bravely voted to impeach Trump are already going to be out of Congress by the time January comes along. And the moderate population in both parties is unfortunately dwindling quickly. So the political incentives end up disproportionately empowering the 10% of extremes on both sides.
But you're going to have to come up with policy
really
positions.
Negative results.
Right,
we
but
just
Andrew,
need a better system.
Yeah, so before we get into this, I just want to say this about Yang. Yang was not a Trump hater until basically the Democrat Party made him become a Trump hater. When Yang first ran, right, after he got popular going on Joe Rogan, there was a lot of people who, even conservatives, that was just like, okay, like, I like Yang, right? I might not necessarily agree with all his positions, but I like him, and I think he has an understanding of a lot of problems that are facing this country. However, the Democrat Party, like, everybody that basically becomes a part of the Democrat Party, you get in bed with the establishment, you turn into an anti-Trump hater, right? Which is what Yang has become, because he wasn't like that when he first ran for president at all. He wasn't like that. Now he's, anti-Trump, but again, that's not enough for people like Jim Acosta here.
But Andrew, you're going to have position positions at some point. How does the Forward Party feel about Roe versus Wade? Should it have been overturned?
Well, I personally think that women's reproductive rights are fundamental human rights. But the Forward Party has not left or right, but forward stance on even the most divisive and contentious issues.
Well, what does that mean? Don't you have to take a position on something?
Well, he just told you what his personal position was. He said that he wants to protect a woman's right to choose, okay? Which, hey, that's his position. But that's not enough, right? That's not enough. And, I mean, you would think that since the party is a centrist party, that they're going to have, people on both sides of that issue, right? It's not going to be, well, the Forward Party has this one specific stance. Because, again, you have people on both sides of it. It's just about compromise. It's about finding a middle ground that is going to work. And specifically on the issue of abortion, the middle ground, I think the middle ground is right now, right? Allowing states to decide what they want to do, okay? And that's it, right? That's it. Because I think the extremist positions on both sides is really just, allow all abortions. And, the other one is just ban all abortions across the country, right? I think that allowing states to choose is the centrist position. Okay. But I think ultimately here, what Andrew Yang is saying is that the positions of the Forward Party are going to be representative of what most people agree with. Okay. I think that is what he's saying here ultimately.
Don't you have to take a position on something? You can't just say, well, this is a hot button issue, so I'm not going to take a position on it. If you want to run the country, you're going to have to make some hard decisions, Andrew.
Again, the Forward Party is about that common sense consensus majority view, which is very clear on abortion. It's clear.
What about guns? What about assault weapons?
On climate change. It's actually clear on just about every issue under the sun.
Should 18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Because of the nature of our system.
Should 18-year-olds be able to buy AR-15s?
Again, the common sense consensus majority is that there should be some rules around background checks and access to firearms. But we're not getting any of these things, Jim, because the two-party system does not need to deliver.
But it doesn't sound like you're taking any hard positions. It sounds like you're
trade power.
It sounds like you're sort of a fill-in-the-blank party. If somebody wants a party with no clear policy positions, you're it. But unfortunately, in the real world, you have to take a position on something.
Well, we're for the common sense consensus view on guns, abortion, climate change, but we're not getting a common sense consensus
what are those positions?
On any of those things, Jim. And
those
Americans
are just sort of fuzzy, but those are fuzzy, nebulous. It sounds like you came up with something in a focus group. Common.
You mean like the whole Democrat Party, right? When they named the Standard of Living Reduction Act, the Inflation Reduction Act. Right? Sounds like something they came up with in a focus group, right? Again, this guy's pretending like he cares about Andrew Yang's policy positions. He doesn't. He's trying to embarrass Andrew Yang, okay, as a way to discredit the Forward Party because he's upset because it might take away votes from the Democrat Party and allow Trump to win.
Sense, middle of the ground. That sounds wonderful. That sounds great. But at the end of the day, don't you have to take a position on something?
Well, the great thing is the American people know where we want the country to go. And what we know that we need a more dynamic, truly representative system than we're getting right now, which is why the Forward Party is growing so quickly. Tens of thousands of Americans have signed up in all 50 states because we know that the two-party system is getting worse, not better, and we know we need something new.
And who is going to be bankrolling the Forward Party? Will you pledge to be very upfront and candid and transparent about where your money comes from?
Yeah, it's transparent for all to see. And the people that are bankrolling us are everyday Americans who are sending $10, $20, $30 because there's such an enormous appetite for change. And one of the things I tell people...
Any corporate money coming in? Outside money?
Again,
money?
It's completely transparent for all to see. But I can say that our money has not been coming in from corporations. It's been coming in from everyday Americans who want something better for us and our families.
You'll pledge to put that on a website, or if a news organization comes to you and says, we'd like to see this information, will you pledge to make that information available?
Well, Jim, I'm going to actually tell you, we don't have a choice. Like, we have to file every 3 months, so anyone who wants to see it can just check it out.
And finally, I guess, it would be good to be able to get a clear answer from you on Donald Trump. What is more important to you, to see a forward party candidate become president of the United States, or to make sure that Donald Trump stays out of the White House?
You see how loaded this question is, bro? You see how loaded this question is? That's all this man is concerned about. Trump is living in this guy's head rent free, bro. For real.
Let me put the question this way. If you were a forward party candidate, let's say in 2024, and you are running the risk of drawing voters away from the Democratic Party candidate in a way that would put Trump back in the White House, would you pull back to avoid that situation from happening?
Well, Jim, the truth is that you could resolve this particular issue very, very straightforwardly by adopting something called ranked choice voting, which would enable people to vote for anyone they want. And then if their number one choice doesn't win, then their second choice would get their vote. But the truth is that neither Democrats nor Republicans really want to solve for what you're calling the spoiler effect, because they're more about limiting the choices of the American people rather than opening it up. Our goal is a system that allows Americans to vote for whomever they want and not be, frankly, scared of, quote unquote, wasting their vote or spoiling it for someone else.
So you don't see the forward party as a potential spoiler that could result in Donald Trump being reelected or put back in the White House?
Again, our focus is on local races, including some very exciting congressional races this November, where we think there's a lot on the line. I'd urge people to check out Evan McMullen's U.S. Senate campaign in Utah that I'm supporting personally. Lisa Murkowski in Alaska is a very principled leader who also voted to impeach Trump, who's on the ballot. Her primary competitor is a Trump endorsed election denier. So I think that there's a lot on the line right here in November, and that's where our focus is.
Yeah. So again, whether or not you agree or disagree with Andrew Yang, right? I think that what Jim here is upset about is the fact that Andrew Yang might take votes away from the Democrats. He would never press a Democrat like that. Ain't it funny how these journalists can actually ask tough questions and be adversarial to politicians when they don't agree with those politicians? But again, when it comes to Democrats, though, it's nothing but softballs, right? Softballs down the middle. Okay, I just I just find Acosta's Trump derangement syndrome here to be just absolutely hilarious. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.